Are you ready to stop riding the emotional elevator of life? Are you ready to learn how to elevate your emotions that keep you psychologically traumatized or in an addictive behavior? You are in the right place. Here is your host, Sandee Byrd, trauma, addiction, life, and spiritual coach of the Emotional Elevator Show.
Well, welcome everyone. You are listening to Emotional Elevator on Inspired Choices Network. I am Sandee Byrd. And of course, tonight's topic is understanding anxiety. It's a big topic. A lot of people are going to be able to relate to this topic. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Sandee Byrd. So it was asked a couple months ago from someone who was watching my show, what does the wand represent? And what the wand represents is if I was your fairy godmother, or your fairy coach, and I could change anything about you, what is it you want to change? And I'm going to do kind of a segue into my topic tonight, understanding anxiety. So, Sandee Byrd, coming out with 3 new programs. My website's getting redone. My corporate side is getting done. So, I've had a lot of anxiety around it. But first, let me tell you a little bit about these programs. And then I'm going to have some incentives for these programs. The first one is unleashing your authentic self. Who doesn't need to unleash their authentic self? Who really knows who their authentic self is? I do now, but I didn't know until I was probably 47, 48 years old. And now I know who my authentic self is. And another one is going to be thriving through forgiveness. Thriving through forgiveness. Because in order for me, and these programs aren't in any typical order, and that's why these connection conversations are great to have. So I know what program is best going to fit you. But thriving through forgiveness, in order for me to even figure out who my authentic self was, I had to go through a lot of forgiveness. And then the last one is finding your empowerment within. And the reason this one is such a valuable one to me as well is because I found my empowerment. But what did I have to do? And this does not mean you're in the same course as I did, is I had to do forgive. And then I had to find out who it is I want to be, or who it is that I inspire to be, or who I am underneath this facade, the skin. What were the beliefs that really weren't mine? What were the values that really weren't mine? And now I'm empowered myself to be the person I want to be. Now, kind of each of them have a little bit of doubt in there. And what I mean a little bit of doubt is you have a little bit of doubt in each one of those. And what I'm going to do is when we get on that connection conversation, if you say, I just doubt who I am, we're going to have a conversation to say, well, why do you doubt who you are? Now, if it's something like I just doubt who I am because of my beliefs or my values, that's more about finding out who your authentic self is. If you come to me and you say, I know who I am, but I doubt because I've been raised in the environment with a bunch of women that women are supposed to sit back, not take care of themselves, not put on the face mask first if you're riding on an airplane. And I'm supposed to obey and do for everybody else, but I really want to put myself first. That would probably be a little bit more of thriving through forgiveness, because you've kind of got to let go and get rid of that doubt that you've been conditioned. And a lot of that's going to have to do with forgiving the conditions around you and the people around you. But let's say you come to me and you're like, you know what? I know who I am. I know why I let it all go. But I'm just doubting, how do I expand that in my life? Like, I now have new sets of values. I don't like what I do, but I followed along. And now I want to know, what is my true life's purpose? And I'm doubting, how do I put up that boundary? Well, that's finding your empowerment within and learning that life purpose. But so I'm coming out with these 3 new programs, and they're launching, like, this is like, have you ever been to an opening restaurant or an opening retail that kind of start silently launching? Coming soon. Or they have the family and friends night. But that's what tonight is too, for me. I'm doing silent launch. But it's not really silent because I'm talking about it on my show. But I'm going to do an incentive. If you want to sign up for me, if we get on the connection call and you see which program works for you, 10% off if you can tell me who I speak about a lot that gave me the passion to continue in my life besides myself, because it had to come from me. I hold myself accountable, but somebody else in my life has driven me to find my purpose in life and to help me realize that I wanted to change who I was and let go of the false values, sense of security I had, and to forgive people. If you can tell me who that is, it'll be a good incentive for you. And there's different programs out there. So that incentive is going to be 10% off if you can tell me who that person is. And I'm going to put it out there on social media and stuff. But that's why this show, Understanding Anxiety, is a big show for me, because I've launched my business. I've been coaching a little bit, but now I've gotten more in depth with my coaching. I'm coming up with programs. But first, I got to travel, or I'm going to travel. I got to travel. I don't have to travel, but I'm traveling to go to a deep inner harmony retreat in another land, a very far land from here, 15-hour plane flight. And that's why this segue to the show is very near and dear to me, is because in the last 2 weeks, I've dealt with a lot of anxiety. And first, I'm going to read you what this show is about, or the questions I ask, and then I'm going to dive into why this show was so appropriate to do right now. So here it is. Do you even know what anxiety is? Do you know how to identify anxiety in yourself or others? What are your triggers for anxiety? Anxiety can show up in your personal life, your work life, or in your false beliefs, or in your values, your false values. Do you know how to handle your anxiety? What techniques do you use to handle anxiety? A lot of us don't have those techniques. So it's giving you some techniques. In this episode, I will be defining anxiety and the effects anxiety has on your mind and body. I will dive deep into misunderstanding of anxiety and how anxiety becomes rooted into our subconscious mind. Sandee will explore techniques she uses with her clients to build resilience and ground sense of self. Sandee will provide insight on how to navigate anxious moments with confidence and grace. So, like I was saying, silent launching, or as restaurants, because my background is restaurants and retail and doing training manuals and stuff like that, I am relaunching who Sandee Byrd is. Well, I'm also going out of the country on a 15-hour plane flight. And over the last 2 weeks, I have experienced an extreme amount of anxiety. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that anxiety and what steps I took to bring myself back down to earth and why I had that anxiety. Because I never realized I had anxiety until my own children pointed out, going, "Mom, stop putting your own anxiety on us." And when they said that, I'm like, "I'm not anxious. I don't know what you're talking about." I realized that it was such a deep form, or deep rooted. It was so, let me say this correctly. It was so deep rooted in me that I couldn't even recognize that I had anxiety. And how many of us walk around not even realizing we have anxiety? So over the last 2 weeks, like I said, I'm going on a 15-hour plane flight and I'm launching these new programs. I've also been out there talking to corporate industry, and I have a big one going on as soon as I come back. So I've been very anxious. And why is that? Well, because I felt like, no, I should really be staying here, even though this trip was paid for like 2 years ago. I should really be staying here and focusing on launching, focusing on all these events I've been doing in corporate world to talk about Lego Serious Play and Laughter Yoga. And I have an event coming up as soon as I come back. And why is that? Why was I anxious about that? That's exciting. That's passionate. It's wow, Sandy. Because in my subconscious, I've kind of thought a little bit about what if I leave and someone calls me and I miss the call and then I don't get the contract in the corporate? Or let's say my business coach and the person doing my website launches everything and I'm not here, and people and y'all are all drawn to getting on a program with me, and you start wanting these connection calls. And I finally told myself, I have to get grounded again in order to be in the right mind. Because if I continue to, sorry, if I continue to just keep going and going and going and going, and I don't ground myself, I'm not going to come off polished, refined, and grounded. Because do you want to work with a coach? Or have you ever worked with someone, a therapist, a coach, that is all like, blah, 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 and you're like, oh my gosh, I came here to settle myself and get rid of the anxiety, than for someone who has all the anxiety and is putting it on me? Sorry, got a little tickle in my throat, even talking about this. And that's what I started realizing. And that's why this topic became so big for me, is because I have been anxious. But why? And why? What is anxiety? Anxiety is a response to something that's more social, um, family, something that just gets your body heightened and just these feelings that you can't understand. It's almost like having the butterflies, but in a negative way, in a negative connotation. I can't do this. Oh, I shouldn't do this. We've already done a podcast on the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But your mind starts telling you, no, you shouldn't really go on this trip, Sandy. You really shouldn't get on a plane. You shouldn't do this. And that's what I started just focusing on. Instead of realizing, okay, I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to ground myself, I'm going to be launched in the right moment, in the right time, when I'm ready. And that's what anxiety does to us. It intercepts into our minds and our bodies those shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And that's why this topic for me is so important right now. And a lot of people say, I didn't even realize you were dealing with this. But I have been, because I give myself techniques to get through this. And what I mean by that is understanding it, recognizing it, acknowledging it within myself that I have anxiety, and what I can do differently to ground myself in the moment, to realize it's going to be okay. If I miss that one phone call, if they're really anxious, if they're anxious to work with me, they're going to call me back, or they're going to set up an appointment with me. Put it that way, an appointment with me. I already have people who want to be guests on my podcast I've got 5 phone calls lined up for when I come back. That's great. Do I need to worry about it now? No, because I've already, when people have said, yeah, I want to be a guest on your podcast, Sandy. Okay, well, I've let them know I'm going out of the country. When I come back, just set up an appointment for when I come back. Because right now I don't have the time to even sit down and have this conversation with you. So it's just explaining it. It doesn't mean they're looking at me any different. What it does is it shows them I'm setting strict boundaries with myself, and I'm setting myself up for success by not trying to take it all on. Because sometimes anxiety wants us to take everything on, and then we do fail because we've taken on too much, and we're not slowing down, and we're not grounding ourselves, and we're not saying, okay, why is this making me excited in the wrong way? Why am I so excited? Because that's what anxious is. Anxious is that oh my gosh, like you're losing your grounding. And We're going to go on a break in a moment. And when we come back, I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about my anxiety. But that's what launching these programs are so important to me, because I want to teach people techniques, and I want to teach people that you too can unleash your authentic self. You too can thrive through forgiveness. You too can find the empowerment within you, because I'm going to work with you. I'm not going to give you all the answers. You're going to have to come up with your answers, but we're going to work together in diving into it, into what it is. What is keeping you up at night? What is your biggest fears? What gets you anxious? What gives you anxiety? Why do you have anxiety? And how we can combat that anxiety. So we are going to go to that break. And like I said, when we come back, I'm going to dive more into why this topic was so important for me in this moment. So let's go to that break.
Are you living a life of psychological trauma or suffering from an addiction? Are you ready to learn new techniques to elevate your emotions without sustaining or obtaining them from substances that are not good for your mind or body? Then continue to tune into Emotional Elevator with trauma, addiction, life, and spiritual coach, Sandee Byrd, where you will learn techniques to elevate your emotions that don't require a magic pill, food, or impulsive behavior. Listen to Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific, on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd. To participate in this program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to sandy@emotionalelevator.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back. I am Sandee Byrd. You are listening to me on Inspired Choices Network or any other network out there that you're listening to. Like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube or Facebook Live or Instagram or Apple. If you're on any one of those platforms and you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. But I am Sandee Byrd. I am the host here on Emotional Elevator. And like I said, you can always reach out to me at sandy@emotionalelevator.com, or like I tell people every time, you might get a rapid response, not coming soon for a week, a rapid response at Sandee with those two E's, Byrd, BYRD, coach@gmail.com. And tonight's topic is all about understanding anxiety. And some of the things I've already said is, where are we sometimes anxious when something exciting is coming up? Why are we sometimes anxious when things are coming up? Anxiety, of course, is those butterflies, but they're not the good ones. Like you're in love with somebody. They're the ones that have those butterflies that get you going, oh, what's wrong? What's going to happen? That negative feeling. Anxiety intercepts our mind with the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Like, what would happen if? And what I was talking about is going out of the country when I have been launching new programs for Sandee Byrd, unleashing your authentic self, thriving through forgiveness, and find your empowerment within. And how that made me anxious, and I've been trying to get everything done. What would happen if I left and came back and it wasn't all done? it's going to be okay. Same thing as I've gone to well, next week is another big corporate event where I'm talking about Lego Serious Play and laughter yoga for corporate. So if you're listening to me and you're dealing with some corporate layoffs, corporate, absenteeism, non-engagement, lack of creativity, I do Lego Serious Play and laughter yoga. That's another side of who I am. And launching all this and being in the public and talking about this, and now I'm going out of the country. I mean, isn't that crazy? No, what it's doing is it's grounding me. So when this does launch, I'm going to come out in the best light of myself. And like I've already mentioned, I will be doing a big corporate event, a very big corporate event when I come back. Am I prepared? You know what? I'm going to be more prepared because I'm going to leave. I'm going to ground myself, and maybe things will come up to remind me of what to do at this event. So that is part of the anxiety. It's that feeling of, oh my gosh, I might fail. No, I'm not going to fail. It's not about failing because I'm still doing it. And that's where anxiety kind of stems from. It's our subconscious because we remember an event that is stuck there saying, remember that time, Sandy, when you failed? Because what? I went out telling, no, I don't remember that time. And that's what I had to start telling myself is, when was that time that I failed? I didn't. And it's getting into that because sometimes our subconscious mind remembers one time. And it could be in my subconscious mind because I went on a vacation one time and one of my friends, I used to spend my summers up in Jersey, where I'm from, with my grandparents and my aunts and uncles during the summer. And one time I came back and a friend of mine moved away. And I didn't really know that was happening until I came back and I'm like, I'm going to go see her and da da da. They moved and I didn't know. So in my subconscious mind, what do you think every time I go out of town and now I'm about to launch this? Oh my gosh, the world's going to end. I'm going to come back and my programs aren't going to launch. I'm going to fail at my corporate event. No, but I had to retrain my brain. I had to reprogram my brain to understand what happened when I was 8 years old and my best friend moved away. That happened when I was 8. I am 55. I'm well prepared for the launch of my programs. I'm well prepared for my website to get redone and launched. I'm well prepared for this corporate event. Luckily, you can't see below my desk, or you would see I have Legos everywhere in my office right now because I got to set up these things. I got to put them together and I got to do this and I got to do that. And as things come up, I'm ordering it. Can I order in Bali? Yeah, Amazon, delivered to my house. My husband can bring it in for me. Or if he wasn't here, one of my kids could. So there's so many solutions that we can give ourselves to get ourselves out of the, oh my gosh, I can't go because this is going on. No, it's going to be more successful because I'm going to be grounded. And everything's going to be done before I go. So I'm good. But there was another part of the story of me being understanding my anxiety. So I flew my whole childhood. My dad lived in Florida. My mom lived in Virginia. My family lived in Jersey. So a lot of my life, I got on airplanes and everything was fine. I've been stranded in an airport as a teenage girl by myself. I did go through a bad landing, very bad landing, flying into Florida. But that still was 30 years ago. And I'm okay. I'm safe. Then recently what came up to me is, I think I might have mentioned this when I came back from a trip to Kenya, 14-hour plane flight, 12 of the hours. I was extremely sick, spent an hour in a airplane restroom. Some of y'all, if y'all fly, you already have that horrible look in your face that I just said that. But I was fine. It was the best plane flight I've ever been on, where it was smooth, that I was able to be in a airplane restroom for an hour. But my anxiety got the best of me and was like, oh my gosh, what if I get sick again? I'm going to be all by myself and da 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 and da 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 da, la la la. All these scenarios are playing in my head. Because coming back when I got sick, I wasn't by myself. But when it was time to get off the airplane, they were scared they were going to miss a plane flight, and I physically could not walk off the plane. And they wanted me to have a wheelchair, and I wanted a wheelchair because I knew if I tried to walk and I fell, A, someone might just step on me, or B, that would be worse because then I might have to flag somebody down and they might take me somewhere else. So I realized by making that decision, I was alone. And what if I had gotten worse? I was by myself. And guess what? I'm here today. I got to my destination. They did not. So again, here I am, close to home, 2 hours from home. I'm supposed to help them drive somebody else's vehicle back home. I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway because I was that sick. But now I'm by myself in an airport, but I'm close to home. They'd already reached out to my husband. He was already dropping off his work vehicle, picking up mine to get to me. And I was fine. And that's what I had to tell myself because I was like, oh my gosh, what if I get sick? And da-da. Because that's my mind now remembers that. So it gave me some anxiety. Oh, maybe I shouldn't go because what if I get sick and I'm by myself? But you know what? I was fine and I am fine. And that's the things we need to remind ourselves of. There are many, many solutions if we just sat back and go, and breathe, which I'm doing, and then come up with the times when that hasn't happened and not come up with the what ifs on the positive side, not the what ifs on the negative side. Because the necklace I'm wearing, I've been wearing now since I found it, thought I'd lost it. It's one that I got in Greece. And the reason I'm wearing this necklace, because it grounds me, and I flew to Greece. My first international flight was from Richmond to Boston, Boston to France, France to Greece. And I wear this, and I've been wearing this since I found it a week ago, and it's funny I found it because I thought I'd lost it forever. But I've been wearing it for this last week to remind me. I flew on my first international flight out of the United States. I've flown international flights, just not out of the United States, across the ocean to Greece by myself, alone. I made it. I flew back 12 hours. I'm only going 15. That is 3 more hours. That is a lot of time, but really not in the scheme of things. And I did it. And this is my medallion of bravery that I'm going to wear for the next week because it's kept me, I can touch it and feel it. And that's a technique I'm going to tell you the next part of this is that as I feel this and touch it, I remember I went on my first international flight by myself to Greece and I flew back. And now I can't even remember what part of the flight we got really bumpy. And I'm flying over a foreign country and the plane flight got bumpy. And I was a little nervous, but I was fine. And it was the best experience I had. And we even had to take a little plane in Greece from Santorini to Athens. We got on another plane in a little airport. When I went to Kenya, we got on a little jumbo jet. And I sat right next to the propeller, which I had to take a picture of because those planes terrify me. And I did it and I made it. And I made it home safe. And that's what you got to tell yourself. I'm safe and I'm fine. And I'm okay. And that's why understanding anxiety and realizing when you have anxiety, and I'm going to talk after the break a little bit more on how you feel you have anxiety. Because, like I said, I've been living with anxiety for many years. And I was like, I don't have anxiety. But my own children pointed out, Mom, you have anxiety. And the effects it has on our body, and some techniques I'm going to give you to combat anxiety and what you can say to yourself to combat anxiety. So again, you're listening to Sandee Byrd on Emotional Elevator on the Inspired Choices Network. And if you are tongue-tying, and if you are listening to me on any other platform, like and subscribe. If it is a platform you can comment. But it helps when you like and subscribe. If any of my topics you've ever listened to, you're like, you know what? Susie could really benefit from understanding anxiety. Share it with Susie. And like I said, I'm about to launch 3 new programs. But if you want to reach out to me, I'm saying email me right now. You can go on my website, sandeebyrd.com, but wait, or if you want to check out what it looks like now, because it's going to look new and improved. Because as we evolve in life, we need to improve ourselves and change some things about us. So, but like I said, if you want to reach out to me, reach out to me at Sandee with those 2 E's, BYRD, coach@gmail.com. But we're going to go to that break.
Are you living a life of psychological trauma or suffering from an addiction? Are you ready to learn new techniques to elevate your emotions without sustaining or obtaining them from substances that are not good for your mind or body? Then continue to tune into Emotional Elevator with trauma, addiction, life, and spiritual coach, Sandee Byrd, where you will learn techniques to elevate your emotions that don't require a magic pill, food, or impulsive behavior. Listen to Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific, on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd. To participate in this program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to sandy@emotionalelevator.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back. This is Emotional Elevator. I am Sandee Byrd, your host, and you're listening to me on Inspired Choices Network. And thank you for joining me tonight. This is all about understanding anxiety. And like I said in the beginning, anxiety intercepts our minds with the shoulda, coulda, woulda, the what ifs in the negative sense. And there are solutions that I'm going to present you with that can help you with anxiety. And as I was talking about, me launching 3 new programs, me talking about getting into the corporate platform with my Lego Series Play and Laughter Yoga that I've been doing, and how I'm going to do my biggest event when I come back. I am flying out of the country. So my anxiety got the best of me. And you know how I knew, besides now recognizing, being able to recognize you have anxiety is the first step. Because I lived such a life of anxiety, I never even knew I had anxiety until my own children pointed it out to me, and other people would say, you have anxiety. How long have you had anxiety? What are you talking about? This is who I am. But I was living a life of anxiety. Everything was making me anxious. And a lot of that had to do with a lot of trauma. A lot of trauma I went through where I was so anxious because my brain was playing that shoulda, coulda, woulda all the time. Well, what if this happens? But not the what if this happens in that fun and free and carefree way. It was more like, what if he finds you? What if, what if, what if? What if I walk outside and a bus hits me? Now, I never lived near a bus stop, but my mind sometimes would think that because of the trauma I've been through. Maybe I was hit younger in life, I don't know. But anyway, that's beside the point. But what that anxiety does in your body too is you're always heightened. You're always sweaty. You're always just how you can combat that. And like I was doing when I was talking about this is my medallion of strength, because like I said, I was anxious flying on a plane because I got sick coming back from Kenya not too long ago. And what if I get sick on this? But in a sense, I was by myself when I got really sick and I needed to have a wheelchair. This medallion was what I got when I flew to Greece by myself. By myself. My first international flight, 12 hours, was to Greece by myself. And this is my medallion. And so when I sometimes get anxious, if I have it on and I've been thinking, I can rub it and feel it. Because if you ever sit there and you think, rubbing and focusing on what does it feel like, gets me out of my head. And if you can get out of your head when you're anxious, and a lot of people say that's easier said than done, Sandee. It's really not. It's realizing that you can do this. Helping yourself to do this. Because like I said, I lived in such an anxious world. I never knew I had anxiety until it was pointed out to me. Even by my current husband when we met. Do you ever slow down? Do you ever shut your mind off? Do you ever stop worrying? I realized after my kids became teenagers and young adult, Mom, why are you always so anxious? Why don't you take care of your anxiety? And that's when I realized, wow, I am anxious. I do have anxiety. And now I know how to recognize it and I know how to deal with it. And a lot of the times what it is it's taking that moment and breathing. What about this is making me anxious? What about this is making me anxious? And what can I let go? And like I said, when I started feeling anxiety because I'm leaving the country and I'm launching 3 new programs, I'm doing the biggest event for myself in the corporate world that can put me on the map, and I'm leaving the country and coming back. Came from when I was a kid, I spent my summer up in Jersey and Canada, and we went up and down the East Coast and stuff. One of my best friends moved away. But these are my programs. This is my corporate event. It's nobody else's. And this is what I've been practicing. This is what I've been doing. So it's not going anywhere. And if I get delayed in Bali, I still have a whole week to get back before this event. And if my programs launch and I'm not here, guess what? I still have a cell phone. I still have email in another country. And it's just telling yourself that. But also some of the techniques are doing a little bit of breath with yourself. Figuring out what breath work pattern works for you. Trust me, you can go on Google and YouTube and everything. I'm a breathwork facilitator, but you can get breathwork techniques for anxiety. Just because if you ever notice when you're breathing and you focus on your breath, you're really not thinking of anything else. You can quiet your mind down by closing your eyes. What color do you see? Now, as you see that color, what are the shadows of that color? Is that color on something? Is that color bright? Is that color dull? What is the color? Now, as you look at that color, is there something that smells like that color? Is there something that you can hear with that color? Is there something you can taste with that color? And what doing that is, they're called PQ reps. And also rubbing your fingers together sometimes, it gets you away from what it is you're anxious about. So just take that moment and listen to this. If you can, close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a color. Now, as you see that color, is it bright? Is it a bright color? Is it a dull color? Is there a shadow to that color? Do you see shapes of that color? Now imagine if you could taste that color. What would it taste like? Now imagine if you could smell that color. What does it smell like? Now imagine if you could hear that color. What does that color sound like? Now, if you imagine to touch that color, what would that color feel like? I could sit here and do this in this voice for 2 minutes, and you might not remember what I was talking about before this, because you have slowed yourself down enough and gotten yourself calm. Then you can say, what was I thinking about? And you're more calm. And that's exactly what I've done. And when I say feel, now that I'm talking loud again, feel, that's why I've been wearing my medallion since I found it a week ago in a jacket. I thought I lost it at my mother-in-law's, but I feel it. And it just brings me back to the ground zero, and I can breathe. And then it reminds me, I flew my first international flight, 12 hours, by myself to an airport I've never been in, by myself, to get a connecting flight to another country by myself. And I got off that plane by myself, got my luggage by myself, and I had to go through customs by myself. And I made it. And I got with someone who was meeting me who I'd never met before, never even seen, to get in a car with me to get to our destination because we were going to the same retreat. And we had to meet up with someone who held a sign in another country. And that's what this medallion of bravery for me. And it can be anything. It can be a pen, a wand, a magic wand. If I took all my anxiety, if I had this magic wand for you and I could take all your anxiety away, what would that do for you? What would that do for you? Because this is the magic wand. And you could even envision, if you listen to me and you don't watch me, what does my wand look like? Is there anything in my wand? Does my wand make a sound? What kind of sound would my wand make? These are all techniques that I've learned and I've facilitated to get people not to be so anxious. And that when I work with clients and they come to me and talk about what gives them anxiety, what gives them fear, because a lot of our anxiety is fear, the fear of the unknown. Anxiety is basically the fear of the unknown, because what we do is we plant something known into the unknown. Think about that. anxiety comes from we're planting a seed into the unknown from something we know. Now, does that make sense? It doesn't. But how many people in this world walk around anxious because of the unknown, but they're planting a seed into the known? They're planting a seed into the unknown with something they do know. Imagine how free your life would be if you could just walk around every day and go, you know what? I'm going to open up my computer today, and what's there is there. I'm going to get on this plane and have the best flight ever. I don't know what kind of food I'm going to eat on the plane. I don't know what kind of movie I'm going to watch on the plane, except for the movies I'm downloading on my tablet. But I don't know. I don't know what this experience is going to be. And that is okay. So think about that. But of course, it is time for my last break. Oh my gosh, I've been running out of time just sitting here talking about anxiety. And like I always say, if any of this resonates with you, reach out to me, Sandee, with those two E's, Byrd, BYRD, coach@gmail.com. Or reach out, let's get on a connection call and talk about what program would you like to work on to help you build up your resilience to your anxiety? What is it that you fear in yourself? What keeps you up at night? What gives you anxiety? And let's work together. But you are listening to Emotional Elevator. I am the host, Sandee Byrd, and this is Inspired Choices Network. So let's go to that break.
Are you living a life of psychological trauma or suffering from an addiction? Are you ready to learn new techniques to elevate your emotions without sustaining or obtaining them from substances that are not good for your mind or body? Then continue to tune into Emotional Elevator with trauma, addiction, life, and spiritual coach, Sandee Byrd, where you will learn techniques to elevate your emotions that don't require a magic pill, food, or impulsive behavior. Listen to Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific, on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Emotional Elevator with Sandee Byrd. To participate in this program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to sandy@emotionalelevator.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back. You're listening to Emotional Elevator. I am the host, Sandee Byrd, on Inspired Choices Network. And like I say, if you're listening to me on any other platform, please like, subscribe. If what I'm talking about resonates to you, reach out to me at Sandee with two E's, Byrd, BYRD, coach@gmail.com. And if you are on any other platforms listening to me and you want to like and subscribe, and if you can leave a comment, leave a comment. And if what I'm talking about resonates to you, then let's work together because, like I said, I am launching 3 new programs. Or if you're a corporate person and you want to engage with your comrades or your associates and you're seeing a lot of social anxiety, lack of creativity, reach out to me. I'll come anywhere to start doing this Lego series play. Well, not start, to continue the Lego series play and the laughter yoga, to work with corporate America to stop seeing that high turnover by engaging with your associates. So anyway, we are almost done. But tonight's topic, like I've said, was all about anxiety, and doing breath work for anxiety is very helpful. When you feel anxious, ask, what about this is making me anxious? Because a lot of times we don't identify why we're anxious, why we've got that feeling in our hands, why we're getting our pulse just, why we feel like we can't catch our breath, why we've got to continue to do this, and why we can't take a break. What is it? Because if you can start tapping into what is called our subconscious mind, you would be amazed at what you can unpack. See, a lot of our subconscious mind, which develops in those developmental years, and even further, they say our subconscious develops between the ages of 0 to 5. I think it keeps developing, and I think we keep hacking it. I think we keep putting all that baggage in that subconscious. So, like I said, I've been anxious about getting on a plane. This is 1 hour longer than I just coming back from Kenya when I was sick on a 14-hour plane flight. I was sick for 12 hours, spent an hour in the restroom, and it was the best flight possible. So now it was the best flight possible. Even though I was sick, I felt, oh my gosh, I'm going to be alone. But like I said, I traveled with 3 people coming home when I was so sick, and they were afraid to miss their flight, so they left me. And I had to leave a plane in a wheelchair and get to another one in a wheelchair because I physically could not walk. That's how sick I was. But I did. I made it home. I'm safe. So continue to tell yourself you're safe. Continue to imagine. You can look up breath work, but imagine, like I walked you through. Replay this one, or just take part of that. Imagine a color. Imagine what it feels like, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it tastes like, what it smells like. Just do that. Yes, that sounds so easy, and it is. And then you can walk yourself through what is making you anxious. Because like I said, me leaving the country and going somewhere where I'm launching 3 new programs, having one of the biggest corporate events that I've ever had. But right now it's the biggest. A month from now, I could be like, that was nothing. Because when I was a kid, things happened to me that were out of my control. So I put it in my subconscious, warning, 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 because that's exactly what it does. But like I said, it was because when I was 8, I went to New Jersey and Canada and all that. And when I came back, my best friend moved away. Best friend's not moving away because my best friend's my husband. But also, if something happens when I'm gone, nowadays we have what's called a cell phone. People can reach out to me on my cell phone and I can check it. If there's a problem with me launching my programs, check it. If something happens to this event, check it. If I forget and I need to order something, hello, Amazon. Love the Amazon. It can be delivered to my house, waiting when I get here. But I'll be grounded for the next part of my life. So, like I always say, if any of this resonates to you or someone you know, send them the show. But remember, anxiety is something, if we recognize it, we can handle it. And if we acknowledge it, we can deal with it. And there's so many things and out there, steps, rubbing your fingers together, feeling your fingers, rubbing your palms together, feel your palms, visualization, hearing, smelling, tasting, breathing, all great practices to incorporate in your life if you've dealt with anxiety or if you feel anxiety. Because that's what we do when we get anxious. We come up with ways to let go of the anxiety. So thank you for listening to Emotional Elevator. I'm your host, Sandee Byrd. This is Inspired Choices Network. And I look forward to hearing from you, Sandee with those 2 E's, Byrd, BYRD, coach@gmail.com. And thank you. Tonight has been very uplifting for me, understanding my own anxiety and getting you to understand yours. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Emotional Elevator Show. Sandee returns Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, start elevating your emotions and stop riding the emotional elevator that is stopping you from living the life you deserve.